Hello, sweet ones, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Embodied Divinity. I'm so honored to be here with you today. And I know this episode is going to resonate deeply because we're talking about something we all experience at some point, and that's the feeling that progress is just too slow. Before we dive in today, I want to take a moment to just get centered, to be here in our sacred community space. So breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just set the intention to be here. There's so much going on in the external world, and I just want to say how happy I am that you chose to breathe into yourself and to be here in this high frequency container, allowing yourself to open and receive and expand. I think that's one of the most powerful things that any of us can do right now is go within, is really focus on ourselves, our self-care, our inner peace, knowing that that's going to radiate into the world all around us. And it's been my own journey of really diving into myself in deeper, more expansive ways that led to this week's episode. So let's dive in. Have you ever been in a place where you're showing up, you're doing the work, and yet it feels like nothing is changing? Maybe you're on a healing journey, building your dream life, working on your body, or expanding in ways that you know, like really know, are aligned, but the results just aren't happening as quickly as you hoped. Let's take another deep breath right now. Inhale and exhale. Because today we're going to reframe this idea in a way that's going to help release the frustration and really soften into trust and recognize that transformation is happening even when you can't see it. And by the end of this episode, you're going to walk away with a whole new perspective on what it truly means to evolve. Transformation is never linear. It doesn't follow a timeline that we can dictate. It's messy, non-linear, and deeply cyclical. Think of the way nature moves, how winter turns to spring, but there's no rushing that process. How a seed is buried in the darkness for weeks, months, sometimes years, before it ever breaks through the soil. Just because you can't see the transformation doesn't mean it's not happening. I want you to reflect for a moment. Think about a past version of you, maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. If you go back and sit with that version of you, you'll probably realize that so much actually did shift, even if you didn't notice it happening at the time. It's just like if you have kids or pets or nieces, nephews, anything. I'm with them, my kids, all the time. And so I don't see their physical growth, like the way they've grown in height or whatever, is one of the reasons we mark their height on the door in our house so I can actually see it. But then we'll go see someone who we haven't seen in a year or two, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they are. Because when you're seeing it every day, you don't notice the transformation. It's the same thing with really our whole life and evolution as a whole. Like, there's so many times that I'm sitting here so excited, looking forward to all the things I want to create, all the things I want to experience. And then I'm just completely humbled by the universe of this feeling, this knowing of like, and also keep in mind that this moment right here is a moment you dreamed of 10 years ago. This life you're living now is something that you wished for. And so often, because every day we're making a little bit of progress, we don't see this huge mammoth change in front of us. So I want you to ask yourself, where am I underestimating my own transformation right now? And just take a moment to sit with that. Where am I underestimating my own transformation right now? I think, especially in today's society, one of the biggest reasons progress feels slow is because we've been conditioned for instant gratification. Everywhere we turn, everything in our modern world moves so fast. And when things don't unfold immediately now, our minds default to believing that nothing is happening. You can literally get online and order something and have it to your house within hours. If you're hungry, you can go pretty much, I mean, in my house, we could walk 5 minutes and have food that was made very quickly. Now it's even delivered to our homes. We want validation. We can post something online and get a few dozen comments validating us, whether that's our fears or our desires. And the world was never like this before. Everything used to have this slow burn, but we have to evolve with the time. So let's look at the science behind this. Your subconscious mind craves familiarity. Real transformation often requires you to override old programming, and that takes lots of time. Your brain is literally rewiring itself every time you make a different choice, but those shifts aren't always visible right away. We talked a couple weeks ago about how our beliefs were like these grooves of the track of a record, and we have to literally grind all of them down and rebuild new ones. If you've seen Inside Out 2, or if you haven't, I highly recommend it. There's some scenes in there that talk about this process of putting these core beliefs into our subconscious and the amount of time it takes. Negative ones can be planted very easily, kind of like weeds, right? Have you ever grown a garden and like you're waiting for all these flowers to bloom or all these crops to bloom, but it takes no time for all the weeds to instantly pop up on one sunny day? It's really easy to plant negative patterns in our subconscious mind, negative habits, but the positive ones seem to take longer. Just like with eating, you can gain 100 pounds really quickly, but it takes way freaking longer to lose that 100 pounds than it did to gain it. So for me, I've been on this journey of fitness, and I'm doing something called body recomposition. So you basically train really hard, high intensity strength training, and you're kind of morphing any extra fat you have on your body into muscle. So it takes a lot longer to see the fat loss and muscle gain that you want, but it's like this really long term lasting change. So if you look at body recomposition, I'm training, eating well, feeling stronger, but the scale pretty much never moves. So in the beginning of this journey, my mind would tell me nothing is working. But beneath the surface, I knew muscle was building and fat was burning, and my metabolism was changing. If I would have quit too soon, which a lot of people on this journey do, I never would have given my chance to witness the breakthrough. But I really had to look at the underlying things. I could see every week I was lifting heavier weights. I could feel my metabolism going crazy, working faster than it ever had. And I could see the way that my clothes fit differently. And so it was a change of perspective, where in the past, with the women in my life, it taught me was it's a number on a scale. And for me now, it's how I feel energetically, how I feel when I look in the mirror, how I feel when I tune into my body. Let me share another quick story with you. I worked with someone who was launching her soul-aligned business, and she was showing up consistently, but it felt like no one was paying attention. Over and over again, I would reaffirm for her just to keep going, that it takes time, that people crave consistency when they look at people to work for. And she was so close to quitting. And then one day, everything fell into perfect alignment. Clients started flowing in, opportunities started opening up, but none of that would have happened if she hadn't kept trusting the process. So many people quit right before everything changes. Consistency is the key, and it's consistency because it's showing the universe that we're really here and ready to hold this miracle that's unfolding for us. We're really committed. It's not this instant gratification. It's not this whim or this fad or this trend, but it's this real deep soul commitment. So my invitation to you is, where are you measuring your progress in a way that's not actually reflective of your growth? Just like me on the scale, it wasn't about looking at the number on the scale. I had to measure my progress in a different way. Where are you measuring your progress in a way that's not actually reflective of your growth? And can you turn that around? Here's something really powerful to remember. Every single action you take compounds. Imagine a single raindrop. One doesn't create a flood, but enough raindrops changes everything. What you're doing today, whether it's working on your healing, shifting your mindset, committing to your body, deepening your practice, it's all accumulating in your favor. You may not see it in real time, but the shift is happening. Quantum leaps are the result of thousands of small unseen steps. If you really trusted everything you desire is already on its way, how would that change the way you move today? It's about every day making these really small micro choices and micro movements. Big deep breaths and baby steps is how we change our worlds. And sometimes when we're taking baby steps, it takes a little bit longer to get to the destination. But once we're there, we have such a strong, impenetrable foundation. So let's talk about how we shift from doubt to trust in this process. Because when things feel slow, we start to doubt ourselves, the timing, the path. But doubt is just a test of your faith. So here are 3 tangible ways that you can cultivate deep trust in your journey. And I'm sharing these because they work for me every single day. Number 1, be present in the now. Instead of fixating on how far you have to go, focus on what you can do today that moves you forward. And here's the key: let that be enough. Number 2, reframe delays as divine timing. Just because something isn't happening now doesn't mean it's not happening at all. When you really believe that the universe always has your back, you know that everything happening for you is perfect, even if it feels uncomfortable or annoying or frustrating. And number 3, use affirmations to anchor trust. I use affirmations all the time. I have tons of them on my Spotify music account. I have tons of guided meditations with affirmations that you guys can use to reprogram your subconscious mind while you sleep or just every morning. I have really short ones, really long ones, but affirmations daily have been a huge anchor for me. So right now, let's just use this one. Say out loud, every effort I make is adding up in my favor. Every effort I make is adding up in my favor. So here's what I want you to take with you from today. And really breathe into yourself and take this in. You are transforming even when you can't see it. Your work, your healing, your commitment, it's all adding up in your favor. Progress isn't always about immediate results. It's about the deep shifts that are happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to give you a 7-day challenge. For the next 7 days, I challenge you to track progress differently. Instead of looking for external validation of any form, I want you to notice your energy levels, your mindset shifts, the small wins that don't seem like much but actually mean everything. And if this episode resonated with you, take a screenshot, tag me on social media, or share one takeaway. And if you haven't, I'd so be honored if you would leave a review because it helps more people find these messages. Thank you so much for showing up here today, for choosing yourself in a world that's seemingly full of chaos, and for taking one baby step that leads to a foundation of deep and lasting inner peace. I'm so proud of you. Until next time, breathe deep and plan on miracles.